welcome back to Breaking Bread with Us, coming live from Oaxaca, Mexico. I actually wrote down a thought, so I'm gonna try to find it, and then I'm gonna show you guys what I'm eating. The first course is already here, which I'm gonna try to eat while it's hot. It smells good. Okay. Still figuring out how exactly this series is gonna go. But something that I wrote down when I got here, I've been here for like 2 days. It was a slightly impromptu solo trip. I came to Mexico for a wedding. I'm on an elective in residency, and I had like big plans to try to connect with someone in global health that I really was trying to learn from. Didn't happen, but still doing just like research and stuff. But now I get the opportunity to do it remotely, which is very rare. Very rare. So trying to make sure that this is a productive time and that I'm able to like get the things done that I need for whatever the next step is, while also making space for rest and restoration, which I think are very important. And so something that I wrote down when I got here was seasons of waiting. Like, I got here and it crossed my mind, like, that's something we should talk about, because I feel like it comes and goes with every year, every stage of our life. There's something that we're waiting for. And so I kind of want to share a couple stories about things that I've been waiting for throughout my 30 years so far, as I eat and break bread with y'all, and hopefully you leave with something. So let me show you guys what I'm eating. So, last meal is pan de yema, which I think it's yolk bread in English, con chocolate. I use water since my stomach's been hurting, instead of milk, which is another option, and then orange juice, fruit, and then the typical Oaxacan dish, or one of the many, will be next. All right, first bite. That's rich. That's rich. I don't know if my stomach's ready for this kind of energy right now, since I've literally had a stomach bug for like 4 days. And I had my first meal in like 4 days last night. So, but that was good. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna take one more bite. I love this. I didn't look into too much about Oaxaca before I got here, so I don't really know all of the things that you should do when you get here. I just wanted to explore. And the flight from Cancun was $30, so why not? I think chocolate's a big thing because they was leaving chocolate on my pillow. So I'm pretty sure it's a big deal here. I don't know if I'm supposed to drink it too, but I'm gonna try. Yeah.
Caliente? It's hot.
Yeah, but it's good.
¿Cómo está esta mujer bonita?
Oh, gracias.
¿Cómo está usted? Bien. Hablas algo de español, ¿verdad?
Un poquito.
Un poquito.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's talk. So, I'm trying to remember why Seasons of Waiting came. I think I was probably reading a Bible verse. Even the Bible verse I was reading today, I'm currently reading through the book of Psalms. And I think it's Psalms 126. I'll try to put it in the bottom. But it was basically talking about that there's like a season for tears, there's a season for joy, and that the seeds that we sow, we will reap them in joy. We're gonna walk back onto those fields that we sowed those seeds with tears and whatever, with like shears ready to like collect this abundance, because that's what God has for us. And so wow, that's not even the verse that I read when I wrote this, but that's the verses that I read today. They're doing construction, so hopefully y'all can hear me very well. Anyways. Well, basically, I was just thinking back over my life and like what are the biggest like waiting periods that I've had. Well, I'm currently in one. I had to go through, I think anyone that's in medicine that had to go through intern year of residency understands that's not even a season of waiting, that's a season of literally sowing seeds with tears. Because it is one of the hardest shifts from med school where you just study, you don't really have full ownership of your patients or the team or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you're responsible for the care of patients. You gotta write notes, you have to learn so much about a system in seemingly like overnight. And you start understanding what it is like to be invested in someone's health and then watch them die. And there's so many things that you learn. It's like growing pains. The same with like any job that you might start. It's the same with any season of change. And going through my year was filled with about 7 months of 28-hour call shifts, which means your girl was tired. And I feel like I was just like, God, I know I'm gonna get through this. But like, what does the next chapter look like? Does it look better? Am I rested? Like, so I feel like I was waiting for this season, for this time, where I could do something like this, where I have less call. I'm done with call for the year, unless I get jeopardized, meaning that I get called in because someone's sick or something. So I was waiting for this for so long. Oh my gosh. And to be here and to have to relearn how to sit and rest and wait and have moments of like solitude, like you don't get those in residency and in life, especially if you live in the US, if you live in any like first world countries, like we be busy for no reason. We don't understand rest. All that to say, I feel like this was a new season of waiting and a different one because it was like waiting while sowing, active, like there was no shadow of a doubt that I wasn't just sitting and waiting for an answer. I was working and hoping that the seeds that I was sowing into my knowledge base, into my ability to communicate with patients and their families, working with teams, working with nursing, working with the computer system, that I would see the growth and I would see the benefit. When I think about seasons of waiting in my life, I think about like after college, I knew that I wanted to go into medical school. I knew that like God had sent me 20,000 confirmations about all the ways and why medicine was the route that I needed to take, and it wasn't photography, even though I was making good money for myself as a photographer back then, and hadn't even really given it full time. I have never to this day given photography the full energy that I could have. And that's because I felt like it was clear that God was like, no, this is the path that you need to take, whether or not that will still be there. And so between graduating in 2013 and then going to medical school in 2017, I had 4 years of waiting to get in. I applied twice. The first time, not because I was ready, because my parents told me to. And I also had to move home. I think the main layer that I want to talk about is moving home. I think with any like parent relationship, as you get older, you establish your independence, especially if you go away for college and you live outside of your home for a while and then you come back. You are different from when you left. You've grown, you've better developed your voice, hopefully. A little bit more better about who you are. And you're most likely a different person than who your parents know or thought they knew. And so when I came home, I didn't want to come home. I had a horrible relationship with my parents at that time. I think, I think it's hard as a child to look at your parents and realize that they were children too, and that they might have come from broken homes, or they have experienced life outside of you. And I didn't understand that at the time. And I just saw my parents as these people that were making a billion mistakes with me, didn't care about a relationship with me, just wanted to control my life, whatever. And that unintentionally hurt me a lot. And so I didn't want to go home. I wanted to just be outside, be on my own, and figure it out, because I didn't feel like there was a relationship worth saving. And at the time, my sister had come home and back home from college too, and had been like going to our church and like really getting plugged in. And so I started going back with her and getting more involved. I got involved with the worship team, ended up getting a small group because churches can be really big and they only become smaller when you engage. And that's when I started realizing that God was calling me to have a better relationship with Him. And that instead of looking at all my relationships as like, what did you do to me? It was more so, how can I be more like Jesus so that I can see you hurting instead of seeing the action that is coming in my direction. Hopefully that makes sense. How can I continue to grow and heal and have space to love you better? And looking back, right? I remember thinking, man, 4 years living in that house, that doesn't make sense. That's not a part of my plan. But those 4 years of waiting enabled me to have a better relationship with my family than I could have ever dreamed if I had been living outside of that house. Because I was forced to face conflict. I was forced to have hard conversations, things that I normally would avoid or used to avoid. I'm so much better at navigating tough conversations now, or difficult conversations, because of the ones that I was able to go through with my family in that period of waiting. Let me take a bite because this was waiting for me. I'm sorry that you've been waiting for me. We love fruit. I love fruit. This is a lot of food. Overall, it's going to be a lot of food that I don't really have space for. So we'll see how this goes. The banana is fantastic. This is the cantaloupe, and I don't be eating cantaloupe like that. All right. An analogy I have, because we love food here, is like the process it takes to make anything good. It takes time, it takes attentiveness, it takes love. Sometimes, I mean, I can throw things together without thinking about it, but it takes love too, right? And I feel like some of the best dishes take the most time. Like moi moi, which hopefully one day I'll share my recipe for how I make it. I freaking love moi moi. It's basically a Nigerian tamale is how I describe it to people. Like a bean-based tamale. Most people know tamales. And it takes time. And after I've prepared it and have to sit and wait for it to cook, if I'm already hungry, I gotta wait another hour for it to cook. That be getting on my nerves. But the end result is fantastic. And so, I think when I think about that waiting period, that I was cooking. There were so many things that were being developed in me. I was learning more about myself. I was learning more about my capacity to love my family. I was learning more about forgiveness and grace. I think one of the things that I learned the most was that my parents were people before me. That is the number one thing I think I learned. That then allowed me to give them grace. Like, there are people that make mistakes. When I have kids, well, I know I want my kids to give me grace too. I learned more about my passions and the things that I could accomplish. From photography to, the journey to medical school. There were so many things that I wouldn't have learned if I didn't have to be in that waiting period. And so I just want to kind of encourage y'all. For anyone who is in the season of waiting and it doesn't seem like you're seeing any change, I felt like back then, it's always hard to see change. It's like when you're working out and trying to get fit or lose weight, it's important to take before and after pictures because the change is subtle. But subtle changes, little changes over time become significant, right? And so I think the changes that I was able to see, that I was able to give my parents grace. And my relationship with my parents now that I'm not living at home is so much better for it. My ability to communicate with them, to know when they're triggered and when they're speaking from a place of hurt or a past experience. I won't get angry. I won't yell at them. I won't react in a way that I think I used to from a lack of understanding. I think something else that ended up happening within that time, like I took the MCAT, which is like the entrance test for med school. I took it multiple times, most of the time because my parents made me. The last time because I was like, my sister and I were like, we're not gonna let you know when we're gonna take it. If you are worried, pray. Otherwise, I don't want to hear people. To be able to say that was growth in itself. Because throughout that season of waiting, I realized that my parents are anxious people. They both have anxiety. And their only way of expressing it was to let it out on us. And so when we realized that, we were able to set better boundaries. And now I'm better able to set boundaries with those in my life. Like when I went to medical school, there are anxious people everywhere. There are negative people everywhere. I was able to set boundaries with people that I'm like, you're a very negative person. I feel for people. I can't have you in my space. And I can better limit interactions with people, all from lessons I learned within that waiting period. I hope this is speaking to somebody that there is beauty in waiting. There is beauty in I'm not going to say in being stagnant, because I was never stagnant, right? But there's beauty in waiting for end results, something that you're working towards. So wherever you are right now, think about like what are the places of what is the growth that I have been able to see in this period? Like what are the changes that I have been able to make within myself? Have I developed discipline? Have I developed more patience? Have I developed an eye to see pain or to see things to be grateful for? Like try to just stop and write things down. Write it down so you can look back on it. Something else that I think I wrote down, take another bite, is that I was like, I remember praying like, God, I need you to keep me busy. When I finally submitted my med school application for myself in 2016, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be in school for a year. God, I need to be busy, man, because I'm gonna be thinking about who's not giving me an interview, who's looking at my application, do they think I'm worthy, whatever. And literally within that next year, I think I went to like 20 countries, 17 countries. Seed. I went to like 17 countries. Some with my family on a cruise. It counts. But I shot my first like travel group that went to Paris. I went to France, went to Paris, went to Versailles. We went to different, the regions where champagne is made, and some other places. And then I went with the owner of that group to Italy as well, to the southern coast of Italy, to Amalfi Coast, Positano, etc. Lots of places down there. As she scoped out what her next location would be, and she wanted pictures of that as well. So I did that. I ended up driving my friend's car from Philadelphia back to Los Angeles. Thank you. Okay. We're gonna pause for a moment for the food. Wow. Oof. Fry hit me. I got chilaquiles, which is basically fried pieces of tortilla. I chose pollo just because I feel like that would be safer on my stomach. And then I also chose like the green sauce, verde. It's like some kind of salsa or something. You can also choose like red sauce too, but this is beautiful. I love the plates that they use. You can see I am eating. We are breaking bread here. I hope y'all are eating or cleaning your house or doing something useful for you. Wow. It's a visual. Let me come and move this. I have to take a picture. Give me a second, y'all. All right. Picture has been taken. This banana is hitting all the spots. Okay. What was I talking about? I got to travel. Yeah. I was like, God, keep me busy. I drove my friend's car from Philly to LA with my friend. It was like a 4-day road trip, so we saw a lot of things. We went through Arizona, we went through Chicago, and saw some friends that I had met on a trip to Thailand before. We did a lot of things. Went to Utah, went to Zion National Park. So ended up going to Art Basel for the first time and shooting an event there. And just got a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have had if I had gotten straight into medical school, if I hadn't stayed in my house and prayed those prayers of desperation, you know, like I realized that there's so much that I would have missed out in this life if that period of time was not there. I think something else that I might have been alluding to before, like I want to let you know that I think sometimes when we speak about things in past tense, we kind of idealize how things were, and by no means was these 4 years easy. Because I remember I tried to escape. Don't get it twisted. I tried to escape. Let me take a quick bite while this is hot, and then I'm gonna tell you what my escape plan had been halfway through that period, or maybe within a year. Let's see. Hold on. Yes, we love it when the tortillas are crunchy. That's good. Hola. You gotta dance when you eat. Fantastic. Oh. Yo. Can you imagine? I haven't been able to eat in days. I've been missing out on like good Mexican food and exploring a lot of the places within Oaxaca. They have like so many food markets and like, can you imagine? I have to come back. I didn't go on any tours or anything because my stomach was like, you better post up, sis. Don't leave. What was I saying? Another bite. Okay. Escape plans. Okay. I was trying to say that it wasn't all daisies and roses. So I went to the University of Southern California to get my master's in public health with a focus on like global health leadership, right? And like any university, I knew that they had RAs, which are the resident assistants, which get to live on campus for free and just help put on events and be a support for the residents, right? And so I had a friend from like literally from since elementary school who was there and higher up in that space and ended up telling me that someone had to quit and they had an opening. When I tell you I applied for that so fast and I was a perfect fit, duh. That would be fantastic. Building community, feeding people. And they offered me the position. So I would have gotten free housing, free food, just to be a support to people and being on campus. Because I was doing my MPH online. And so it was like half the price. And I wanted to be able to figure out what remote looked like and still take some like science classes on the side to boost my GPA up from undergrad. Like I had a lot of things I was trying to do and I wasn't trying to pay private school money. I was hoping it would be, I could try and it would be good enough for me, whatever it was. Got the job, told my parents the way they wanted to bring the house down on my head, dude. They said, so our food isn't good enough for you? Our house isn't good enough for you? I said, oh my gosh, there's nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with you, but I need my freedom. I'm talking about this really calmly, but I've never heard such yells in my life, like I had insulted them. No, why do I want to go outside? All I want to do outside is party. Was I even partying? I was setting my butt off. I was an angel. And so I remember going back up to my room because I get a little PTSD with yelling and stuff. I mean, we can talk about it at a later date. I went up to my room and I was like praying, like, God, I know that when it's a move I'm supposed to make, there's peace. And me getting this position should be good news. But oh my God, if there's no peace here, it must be that I'm not supposed to take it. You know, and I prayed about it and I got peace in my soul about it. And so I ended up going back to my parents and saying, I need you to understand that what has happened to me is a good thing. A lot of people apply for this and they do not get it. And yet a position opened up and I applied for it and I got it. And you guys can't see that it's a good thing. Instead want to scream and yell at me about it. So fine, I'll decline the position. So I ended up having to decline the position. That was like my main escape plan. It's such a solid one too, because my program was 2 years. I could have done it for 2 years straight, been fine. But in looking back, the opportunities that it gave me to continue to grow with my family and heal from past trauma, and get to know more about who they were, who they are, what their life experience, what their lived experiences were. I think it saved us and saved the relationship that we have. It helped me to better understand what like sacrificial love means, and like I think like Jesus gives us a great example in the Bible of what sacrificial love means. But it's like, how do we practice it here? I'm not about to get on a cross for nobody, you know, truthfully. So what does that look like in practice for us now? And part of it is and I think being at home, I was able to figure out ways and see practical ways what sacrificial love looked like for my family, for my parents, for me and my sister. I got to learn more about learning how to love someone the way that they want to be loved, like understanding that someone might receive love and give love differently. Like those were things that I never even thought about or cared about until I sat and I was being intentional about it. My relationship with my sister would not be what it is. So I think to just wrap up the storytelling, the jumping around, the eating, the goodness, what are you leaving? Not even leaving. What are you learning in your season of waiting? That is the question that I want to pose to you. That's the question I want you to ponder on, journal about, think about, comment below. What are you learning in your season of waiting? I could go so much deeper about this because I learned so much from my travels, from conversations with my family, from arguments with my family, conversations with God, from my prayers, from things that God answered, the pain in waiting, the impatience in the waiting, and the room for growth. So think about that question. What are you learning in your season of waiting? Comment below. Let's engage in conversation. Let's support each other. Let's break bread together. And hopefully we can better enjoy this life that we have. Hasta luego.